Hi folks, welcome to the Money Mental UK YouTube channel. I'm your host Andrew, part-time eBay and Depop reseller and a mental health advocate. And today, something a little bit different. If I can work the computer, I have got a new computer, so I'm testing that out, and I need to package your order, Matt. That's what I need to do. I need to got a presentation tomorrow in work, or a talk that I'm giving rather than a presentation, all around the subject of autism, how it's affected me, the impacts it has, how I see the world, how it affects me professionally and personally. I have no clue when it comes to these things, so I thought I would do some research into it, prepare some, speaking notes, and I thought, well, why not do that live, and then, we can discuss it, etc. So yeah, it may build awareness as well. Who knows? Certainly build my own awareness. But before we get into that, we've got to do it before 8:30 as well, because obviously PTRA is live at 8:30, so it's going to be 45 minutes or less. Before we get into that, let's say hello to the people of the chat. We've got Matt in, Mandy, who was new to the channel. I believe we welcomed Mandy the other day, and she survived the penultimate episode of Drinking with Andrew. So there you go. Chris B is in. Hey, Chris. Tea Cakes is in and gone. Chris Tyler is in. Chris Count is 2. Rebecca's in. Hi, Rebecca. Hope you're having a better day today. Stu is in. Mr. Mandry. And I am in, which is, kind of essential already to the whole stream. Right. Let me bring up the documents thing to write in. How do I do this? Here we go. Right. I haven't installed Microsoft Office on this new computer yet, so I'm using hello, Lisa. Ex now best friend. I thought you meant that it was like your ex best friend. Then that was very confusing. But that's what you're saying. Your ex, who is now your best friend, hence the brackets. Right. So, I've got to talk about autism and work. So let's research it. I think structuring this. Let's start off with some basics. Let's go on the screen share. Let's type in some basic stuff. Bring up some definitions and whatever. Yeah. Hi, Michael. Right. What is autism? There we go. Let's put this in. Oh, the NHS go first. Always useful to see our health service. Can't see you chat anymore. Actually, I need to do that on the screen as well. I'll try and do that. But so great having an actual mouse and keyboard that work. There's lovely Lauren. Hi, Lauren. Right. What is autism? I'm not even sure I like this definition, really. I just want like a fucking sentence or two that sums it up. Both lads are autistic. There you go. Mandy, you probably know far more about this subject than me, because I got diagnosed in my early 30s, mid 30s. In my 30s, anyway, I got diagnosed. And then I pretty much ignored the diagnosis for a while. So, yeah. Hey, Babs, you've expanded your name. You're now Vintage and Collectibles, a note. Right. I'll say I don't like. I'm not sure if I like this definition. I want a different definition. Here we go. What is autism? I've got to watch a film. I can't watch that. Let's copy that in. You're going to be my test audience if I get these speaking notes done in time. How does one work LibreOffice? I should have just downloaded. I should have just freaking downloaded the Microsoft Office before doing this, but never mind. Right, what is autism? Autism is a lifelong developmental disability which affects how people communicate and interact with the world. 100 people are on the autism spectrum, and there are around, I don't know, I did inverted comments there, and around 700 autistic adults and children in the UK. Autistic people may act in a different way to other people. They may find it hard to communicate and interact with other people, find it hard to understand how other people think or feel, find things like bright lights or loud noises overwhelming, stressful, or uncomfortable, get anxious or upset about unfamiliar situations and social events, take longer to understand information, do or think the same things over and over. There's definitely more than that as well. Development disorder of variable severity. That is, have you not got a spanner, Lisa? Lisa, a spanner. There you go. Do not be abusing your spanner powers. Emma's not got a spanner either. She can have one. There we go. Let's give Lauren a spanner as well. No abuse of spanner powers, though, please. You can put links in then if you find something useful for me. Oh, we've got Emma is in. Look at me now going shy. Welcome, Emma, the Amazon dream. She certainly is my dream. I've made that joke before. Guess we mostly get diagnosed as children. I guess so, Chris. Yeah, I didn't, unfortunately, but there we go. So lovely. Right, no, I don't want to take a survey. Go away. Right. Was autism. Can't be asked watching your video. Oh, here we go. Right, there's some more text here. Sorry, work. Copy and paste. Probably shouldn't read out. Click on the plus sign for more information. What is under the plus sign? There we go. Social communication. Yes, we'll copy all of this. It's the social side that I struggle with, actually, because on the spectrum, we have different points in the spectrum. I'm at the high functioning point, what would have traditionally been termed Asperger's, but I believe now it's just like high functioning autism. I've moved away from this term of Asperger's, apparently for some reason that's not really known to me. I struggle more with the social side of things than the sensory side, but I do struggle with sensory slightly. Nice, I'll copy that in. Right, what else we got? Repetitive and restrictive behaviour. With unwritten rule, oh, I definitely had this. Routines. So yeah, feel that. Oversensitivity. I'll cover that in. Highly focused interest or hobbies. I think every reseller has that. Why we are resellers, probably. Because let's face it, it takes a lot to watch 500 hours of YouTube a week, do your shipping and your orders and listing and whatever. Extreme anxiety. Yeah, it's definitely that. Lockdowns and shutdowns. This is a great. I'm liking the stuff on this website. This is a good website. There we go. There's more about Asperger syndrome here, which is what I've got. Let's see what's on there. This is what I was talking about, that they changed the definition to autism spectrum disorder. You're all being very quiet. This is disturbing for me. Asperger syndrome was introduced to the world by British psychiatrists. Look, it's a British invention. Brilliant. Therefore, it's got to be the best thing ever because it's British. Lorna Wing. I bet so many jokes were made about her surname. Anyway, the term derives from a 1944 study by Austrian pediatrician Hans Asperger. So he didn't not intervent it. Okay, interesting. New evidence about its problematic history is yeah, whatever. People are always arguing about shit. Many people who fit the profile for Asperger syndrome are now being diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder instead. That's what happened to me, ASD rather than Asperger's. Each person is different, and as such individual, how they choose to identify. Much like identifying as a gender, I guess, with people like signing emails in work with he, her, and she. No, he, him, and she, her, which confuses me. So people with a diagnosis of Asperger's make it easy to choose using the term. Others may refer to themselves as autistic or on the autistic spectrum, which is what I do. And then other stuff as autism. There you go. I really should have looked at this website like a lot sooner, like when I got diagnosed. Nobody's speaking. Oh, okay. The chat's broken because I can see comments here. Evening, Darren. I thought most people on the spectrum somewhere. Most people score 1 or 2 or 100. Well, yes, that is what I have been told, Stu, is that everybody is on the spectrum somewhere. You're either at the top of it or the bottom of it, and what you count as the top or the bottom depends on your definition anyway. But yeah, everybody features on it to some degree. There's a certain point on that spectrum that you hit it. If you're above that point, you're autistic, I guess would be the way to say it. Don's grandson has autism as well. He's only 9, bless him. Sounds like he's got diagnosed at a young age, though, which will hopefully prove useful for him in later life. Right. Let's copy and paste this stuff in. Cheating, etc. Because, hello, Donut. Mandy's oldest lad was diagnosed at 3 years old, and the other one at 7. Plus, he's got ADHD. So you've got a lot going on then, I guess, there, Mandy. The ADHD, probably closely linked, I would guess. I'm not an expert, but I know of people who have got autism that also have ADHD. But I know very few people who've got ADHD but no autism as well. But that could just be, the people I'm interacting with might not be a representative sample. Right. What else have we got on this website then? How do I work the internet? Now this is me. Yeah, I definitely struggle with the communicating and interacting, even though that may not come across because I'm here communicating with you. So I can't read people very well, people's emotions, etc. I always end up causing people offence without intending it, just like on a daily basis, which is frustrating. Benefits, differences in communication. Here we go. Autistic people, including those with Asperger's syndrome, often communicate differently. They have difficulties with interpreting both verbal and non-verbal language like gestures or tone of voice. While it may take them a little longer to understand, some autistic people have a very literal understanding of language and think people always mean exactly what they say. That happens to me a lot. I believe the expression is taking things at face value. I do that. Somebody says something to me, I will take it exactly as they say it. It's sometimes difficult for me to process that it's different. I find it difficult to use or understand facial expressions, tone of voice, jokes, and sarcasm, vague or abstract concepts. These traits may express themselves in different ways. For instance, someone with Asperger syndrome may be very funny or sarcastic themselves, like me. I'm hilarious, but they may not always pick up on sarcasm. People with Asperger syndrome usually have good language skills, like me, exceptional ones, but they may find it hard to understand the expectations of others about conversations. Perhaps repeating what the other has just said. This is called achalia, or talking at length about their own interests. I've definitely have done that before and have to tone it down a lot. People with Asperger syndrome may more tend to process information. I often find it harder to understand clear, consistent language. Easier to understand. Yeah, okay. That all makes sense. This isn't drinking with Andrew. Fridays is the last ever one for charity. Just read Daryl Hanger is autistic. She's a beautiful lady, Daryl Hannah. Right. Copy to this. Differences in social interaction. People with Asperger syndrome often have difficulty reading other people, recognizing or understanding others' feelings and intentions, expressing their own emotions. This can make it very hard for them to navigate the social world. They may appear to be insensitive if they don't intend to be. Seek out time alone and not all by the people. I can't do that. I turn off the phone and then I'll or not reply to stuff, and then I'll get messages loads of them, people assume I've died or something. I haven't. I'm just taking some time to myself. Not too coming from the people. Yeah. Appear to behave strangely or in a way thought to be socially inappropriate. That is definitely me. I get accused of being socially inappropriate all the time, especially towards ladies. But hey ho. So yeah. I'll copy that information. Behaviours and routines. Work can seem a very unpredictable and confusing place to people with Asperger syndrome. Often prefer to have a daily routine so they know what's going to happen every day. They always want to travel the same way to and from school or work, or eat exactly the same food or breakfast. I have this problem. Which is why I try and push myself out of my comfort zone on drinking with Andrew by not just having KFC every week, mixing it up with something different occasionally. Otherwise, I would just literally have the same cider and the same food every week without fail. It's not healthy. Right. Brilliant. High focus interests. I have this over for a very short time as well. I get obsessed with stuff for a few months, and I'll lose all interest in it whatsoever. Not interested in names and terms. Problematic. Okay, I feel like I've got enough information now. Let's put it together in a cohesive whole and see if we can tell a story. Regrettably, Stu, I am not allowed to do that. Plus, I need to bring it to life, Stu. I need to relate it to myself and my experiences. So I can't just read out the website I've got to bring some magic to it. And I've got no money to go to the pub with. So I think we can do the basic facts. What is autism? Some ways it may impact people. We're going to take out all of this stuff because I think it's repeated further down below. I'll focus on having Asperger's, I think, and some of the context that's in there. Minions, I have Shuggy Minions. Right. Right, so I want to scroll back up to this Asperger's page, don't I? What is autism? What is Asperger's? What is it? I can't even spell it. Why are you not doing the spell checky? Why do you not? Oh, what is Asperger's? Oh, right. Do that in. Right, so I'm going to delete everything here because I'm going to focus specifically on Asperger's. Right, there we go. Hello, Myra. How are you? Right. Okay. Right, so we got all that. How do people with Asperger's see the world? See the world. Right, yada yada yada. Yeah, I'm not interested in diagnosis. Differences in communication. Yada yada yada. This is in social interaction. Right, then what was the other section I copied? The behaviours and routines. Yada yada yada. Highly focused interests. Yes. Feels like for the highly focused interest section, they've just basically they've only written like a paragraph, or they've written like fucking essays for other shits. What's this one? I don't really think that they've written it in a fully accessible way, Shuggy. Guys, blind people can still have some sight. It's a spectrum too. Right, okay. So we've got 3 pages, which is better than I had before. Right, let's practice this then. Hi, folks. Thank you for coming to my talk on autism and Asperger's and how it impacts me both professionally and personally. Well, I'd start off first off just by talking about a bit of a definition of what autism is before we move on to the more specific example of Asperger's, which is what I need. Let's not have like I was saying. I would counter that argument, Gloria, with the fact that the definition and understanding of autism really started to kick off in the 80s as well. So people were not diagnosed as autistic in the past, perhaps when they should have been, because people didn't have the understanding and the awareness. The 80s, pretty much the start of the information age, isn't it? Things like the internet, etc. Faster plane travel, all sorts of things happening. There are far more people being diagnosed now than there would have been 100 years ago. But yeah. Right, okay. Anyway. Evening, Dave. Evening, Zane. Can't just time to Google it. You're interrupting me flow now. Right. Autistic people. So yeah, autism, lifelong developmental disability, which affects how people communicate and interact with the world. It's about 100 people on the autism spectrum, which translates in the UK to around 700,000 adults and children. So I'm pretty rare, there's only 1 in 700,000 of me, so bear that in mind. Autistic people may act in a way different to other people. We can find it hard to communicate and interact with others, find it really hard to understand how other people think or feel. We can have sensory issues, bright lights, loud noises can be overwhelming. We get anxious about unfamiliar situations, social events. We take longer to process and understand information that may seem simple to others, and we can do or think about the same things over and over. In particular, have a definition of Asperger's or autism spectrum disorder thing. That I'm just going to put the chat down to distract me. I particularly have something known as Asperger's or autistic spectrum disorder, which is the sort of the more modern terminology that's used due to some controversy around the research that Asperger did. But basically, it's a phrase that was introduced by British psychiatrist Lorna Wing in the 80s, deriving from a study done by Hans Asperger. To say the change in definition means you may find people now referring to it as ASD rather than Asperger's. It's what's known as a spectrum condition. So it doesn't, people who have it don't all behave in the same way or suffer with the same symptoms. We all share certain difficulties, but it will impact us in different ways. And some people will develop mental health issues, such as myself, and suffer with anxiety and depression. But the one common thing is that we see, hear, and feel the world differently to how other people feel it. It's not something that can be cured. It's something that will live with us for life. It's just something we have to learn to accept. Good thing about Asperger's or ASD is that people at our sort of end of the spectrum don't necessarily suffer the same learning disabilities that people further down the autistic spectrum have. Um, so that's good because we can learn, assimilate, process information quite well. But it can be bad because it makes it less easy to identify as being autistic, which is what happened with me because I was not diagnosed until I was in my 30s. Um, so how do we see the world? A lot of people will say the world feels overwhelming, which can cause us considerable anxiety. That's definitely something I relate to. I have days where I feel completely overwhelmed by the world, um, particularly if I'm in situations where I want to understand and interact with a large amount of people. It can make even simple tasks like going to work very difficult. And it's really hard when we see other people who don't seem to have that difficulty and seem to have no problem interacting with each other. I find that I don't necessarily know how to interact, how to engage. Can feel like being in a room full of people, but not knowing how to fit in, feeling like almost completely alone. Um, which is something a lot of people who have anxiety also seem to, particularly social anxiety, also seem to suffer with. And obviously, we don't look disabled. Um, I used to get called naughty a lot, and as an adult, I get say I'm misunderstood and whatever, which is probably true. Um, Communication is a difficulty, and this is something I particularly struggle with. Um, Reading body language can be very difficult. Um, I personally have like trained myself almost to try and read people's body language, um, which is difficult as well because not everybody's body language is the same, which means I can quite often misinterpret it, and I will think people are fine, they're okay, and perfectly happy, and it turns out they're about to kill me. Um, but hey, that's what happens. Um, Language as well is a very difficult one. I will often take things at face value. Uh, I will take things to be very literal. An example of this is I used to struggle for years and years of my life. I struggled with the expression "be yourself" because to me, literally, I can't be anyone else. It's a physical impossibility. Like we haven't invented like some kind of mind swapping device or body swapping device or anything like that. So it took me a long time to understand that phrase that seems to be quite simple for others. Um, so yeah, facial expressions, tone of voice, jokes, sarcasm, really struggle with concepts, vague, abstract concepts, um, sort of things that our policy people come up with. Be a real struggle to understand and interpret sometimes. But the opposite of that means that if you can explain something to me in a way I can understand, you can pretty much guarantee 99% of the human race is going to be okay with it. Um, so yeah, we'll move on past that. Um, Social interaction is something probably the hardest thing for me as a person and the aspect that impacts me most. Um, I talked about difficulty reading people, reading and understanding feelings and intentions, and even expressing my own emotions in a constructive manner can be very difficult. And it ends up making me appear to be insensitive. Um, I'm not. I'm actually a deeply sensitive person, and I'm deeply sensitive to other people's emotions, but I'm also very direct and some would say blunt. I lack the soft skills. Um, it also lead to time alone when overloaded by other people. I quite often do that. I will not always be logged onto Teams, the instant messenger, because sometimes it just gets a bit much for me. So I log out of it for half an hour, just take some downtime. Um, we won't see comfort for the people, like being hugged and whatever, being touched. I've got to have a lot of trust with you before I allow you to touch me. And will appear to behave strangely in other ways towards me socially inappropriate. I am completely socially inappropriate. Unfiltered, I totally think, I totally see. It's difficult. Um, Okay, I'll tell you what, right. I can't be asked for this. Right, spare me a second. I'm just going to tidy up a few things. Right, there we go. So yeah, it definitely doesn't mean that we lack empathy or the ability to feel emotions. I often get accused of lacking empathy. I don't. Something happens to somebody, I can feel it very deeply. I just can't express that in a way that would make sense to others, um, or constructively. Um, so yeah, it is what it is. It's very difficult to form friendships. We want to be friends with people, but sometimes we don't even know how to like say hello to somebody. Like there's so many times like I'll just say hello to somebody and they'll like recoil from me, and I'm like, okay, I've done something wrong here. Um, so it can knock the confidence. I personally tend to do what's called camouflaging. I will reflect other people's behaviours that are around me, etc., their mannerisms, how they are, to try in an attempt to try and fit in and to appear to be more confident. Um, which is what it says here. We develop skills by mimicking others. Um, so yeah, and then there's the repetitive behaviours and routines. Routine is exceptionally important. Um, if we have a disruption to our routine, like a global pandemic, it can be a real nightmare. Um, for me, I tend to have the same stuff for breakfast, same stuff for lunch, for dinner. But I do push myself to try new things and new experiences. But you're never going to get me on Nemesis at Alton Towers. I also have a set of rules that I follow in terms of how I interact and engage with others. And when people who interact with me don't follow those rules themselves, which is impossible to do because they don't know what the rules are, it can throw me wildly unbalanced. That is something I'm still working on, and I really struggle with. Um, but yeah, and then the final thing, highly focused interest. I get obsessed with stuff, completely obsessed. Like I will learn everything about a subject and then I'll move past it in a few months and I find something else new to obsess. So I can resell him. That's why you'll see me move from like media to clothing to books. Because my interests have moved. Um, you know, it's that simple. So I would become obsessed with a particular category. A few months' time, it'll be a different one. Just how it goes. Um, so yeah, that is me. Their problems. I'm not really that fussed on. Not first. I'm not really that impacted by sensory stuff. I do have some sensory issues. My hatred of onions is in part due to the texture of onions, and there's a sensory issue there. So it pisses me off when people mention onions all the time. Um, but whatever. Um, what else was I going to say? There are certain things like I'm not very good with pencils and crayons. They go right through me. Um, that's a sensory issue that I have, but by and large, I don't have too many sensory issues, so I'm quite lucky in that regard. Going to scroll up the chat, missed a few people. John was not diagnosed until 1983. That was a year before I was born, John. Although obviously I'm 21. And that teacher told the family was odd, antisocial. I get obsessed with tasks. Joe, I can relate to that so much, John. That is pretty much like what my teachers were as well with me, but obviously more than a decade later, I was just slightly misbehaved, basically. Hi, Richard. Um, and German, Austrian, but I see where you're going, yeah. Certainly, it was like 1944 or something. Oh, right. Let's get rid of these. There we go. Right. Still too much stuff in there, really, isn't there, for like a 15-20 minute conversation. I'm going to pare it down. But I'm conscious, Mr. Ray, Peter Ray, who is autistic himself, it's going live at 8:30. I don't want to cross the stream, so to speak. So I'm going to take some time to pare this down into a smaller document. I may even share on the Money Mental Facebook group the results, the documents when I've written it, rewritten it, etc. People may find it interesting. So yeah, obviously 90% of it is not my own work, or won't be, but plagiarism is the future. All right, thank you everyone for joining there, and thank you for sharing your stories and your experiences there as well. It's always good to hear from other people and know that I'm not alone in these things. I'm going to log off now. I'm going to end it there. Particularly brilliant to see the Amazon Dream Emma in as well. Love you, Emma. See you soon. Bye for now. Oh shit, hang on. I don't even know how to end the stream properly. How bad is this? There we go.